Monday, June 17th, 2024, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. We're going to look at a big threat to our freedom, our property, and our lives. And that's BlackRock and its CEO, Larry Fink. Yes, he was at the G7. You might wonder, what's an unelected official doing there? So, yeah, we're going to see what he really wants. And it's not good. Before I look into that, though, just wanted to give a shout out to the Dirty Man Safe. And I think it's more important than ever in these turbulent times where nothing is safe, nothing is sacred anymore. The rule of law, property, yes, the value of your savings, it's all been trampled on. So yeah, the Dirty Man Safe is a hidden protection and instant access, not just to your gold and silver, but anything else that is valuable. And you want to keep away from people like Larry Fink and the government. So back to Larry Fink and BlackRock and the G7. And I've spoken about Larry Fink, BlackRock, in relationship to the World Economic Forum. I've been warning about the World Economic Forum even before 2020, before Klaus Schwab set out his great reset during the pandemic. I was warning about the World Economic Forum in 2018, 2019. I could see they were pushing this green agenda, this public-private partnership, which in my book is just another word for National Socialism. I personally don't have a problem with a company like BlackRock being a private company and trying to do business. The problem I have is that they've infiltrated the central banks, they've infiltrated government, and they've become like a monopoly. They control trillions upon trillions of assets, and a lot of those assets are your assets that you have injected into the financial markets for things like private pensions and investments. Yes, it's a strange situation, but yeah, Larry Fink. If you Google Larry Fink BlackRock WEF, it says here agenda contributor. That's what he is for the World Economic Forum. He's also on the board of trustees of the World Economic Forum. He's trying to impose policies not just on central banks, but on governments. And I saw a clip of him at the G7, and we're going to come to that in a minute. I'm going to play it, and then you can decide for yourself whether he's a threat or not. So a few years ago, of course, in 2020, we had the events of March 2020 where everything imploded. They scared the public with this health event, and then the central banks printed trillions of dollars. The governments spent trillions of dollars pumping the economy, keeping you at home, making sure the big corporations that Larry Fink and others control could still do business, and people like Larry Fink and others added massively to their wealth. But back in 2019, though, Larry Fink was at the Jackson Hole Symposium. What's the Jackson Hole Symposium? Well, that's like a conference that the Kansas City Federal Reserve has every year at Jackson Hole. And he set out the agenda for the next big crisis, i.e. March 2020. And I would venture to say, speculate, yes, it might sound conspiratorial. They knew all along this was going to happen, and his policy was go direct, right? And I've done an interview with John Titus about that. I'm gonna try to find it because it was a few years ago, and I'm gonna put a link in the card. But basically, he said that the Federal Reserve in the next crisis, or March 2020, would have to go and help firms like his go direct, not just help the banks. And that's the whole problem as well. In a free market, in a free world where government is limited, there would be no central bank, and Larry Fink wouldn't have as much power as he has now. He shouldn't be an agenda contributor. He shouldn't be at the G7. A G7 is a meeting of government officials of the supposedly 7 most industrialized countries in the world. So what's Larry Fink doing there? If there shouldn't really be the melding of the state and business. Well, that's what we have, though. So it's not a long clip, and basically what Larry Fink was warning about was the fiscal situation. He said that the G7, on average, each country has 129% debt to GDP, public debt to GDP. And you will see in the clip that what Justin Trudeau thinks about that. And he says that we have to work on growth. By we, he means his firm, the central banks, and the governments. And I would say also the World Economic Forum. And that we have to make sure that we fix the fiscal situation by promoting growth. But how does he want to promote growth? He doesn't say that we need to have smaller governments, that we have to abolish the central banks and stop creating funny money out of thin air to bail out his investments, right? Because that's what we've had. 40 years of pumping funny money and extracting wealth from you to him and his cronies. He calls for even more of that. He calls for the public-private partnership and infrastructure investments. I mean, who does he think he is to know what's best for us, and that he should be in charge of telling the governments what to do? This public-private partnership, right? So in my opinion, he just wants to have his cake and eat it. He wants you, because governments and the public part of the public-private partnership is actually extracting wealth from you through taxation, through regulation. He wants that to continue, and that won't work. So he's a dangerous man, I would say, and we need to expose this kind of system, National Socialism, because that's what it is. And I've been trying to expose that quite a bit here on the channel. I've been doing it for years, since I started this channel. One of the mantras here is small government. The rule of law. If you want to check out, in the last couple of weeks, I've been doing like a reading of the law. I'm going to put both videos up in the cards, and you'll see what I mean about Larry Fink and the people at the World Economic Forum who are running government policy now. And I haven't seen too much news about Larry Fink being at the G7. So before we quickly look at the markets, I'll just play a clip of what he said there at the G7 and see if you agree with me.
But if I could convey one more important message today, it would be the countries that need growth most right now are not just emerging economies. Great economic powers, including the G7, are in fact on the list and need growth going forward. All of us are staring down a growth dilemma. Whether we solve it or not, it's a significant economic fork in the road for our countries. Today, the G7 average debt to GDP is 129%. No matter how much we tax, how much we cut or reduce that debt, it will not be enough. The only way we can achieve this future of growth is by truly growing out of it. But just growth is becoming more important because we need to be focusing on our fiscal health. It is also becoming much more difficult to achieve. Within 25 years, most of the G7 countries will be on demographic downslope. Working age population will decline. The ceiling on growth will get lower and lower. This is why building new infrastructure is critical, especially through public-private partnerships. Infrastructure investments is a counterforce to the high-debt, low-growth economies.
All right, so let's quickly look at the markets then. It's 7:45 a.m. London time. We've got spot gold at 23.16, so it's down about 15 bucks. The high's been 35 and the low's been 15. So silver also is a bit under pressure. I spoke yesterday on the live stream that I still think gold and silver are doing really well. The daily and weekly moves are just noise. And I would say the trend is still higher. And why? Well, because people like Larry Fink, the G7 leadership, all they know is more government spending, along, of course, with the private sector. And by private sector, I don't mean you, the mom and pop business. I mean the big corporations that are in bed with the government, not just the military industrial complex, but Wall Street and also the big tech companies. But anyway, spot silver is at 29.10. It's down 46 cents. The high's been 29.62 and the low's been 29.01. I think the key level going forward till the end of June, because that's the end of the second quarter, is going to be around 28.30 for silver. We might still go down towards that kind of level. And I don't think really 30 is that significant, because right now, in terms of a quarterly basis, we're at the highest level if we were to close here at 29 in about 11 years. So silver's doing really well, I think, and so is gold, of course. We're at 2,300. We started the year below 2,100. What about the stock market? Well, the Dow is up 12. The NASDAQ 100 is up 20. The S&P 500 is up 2 points. So fairly quiet. The foreign exchange market as well is very quiet. Not much to write home about here. WTI crude is down about 0.5% at 77.70. Brent as well down 0.5% at 81.83. High-grade copper is down about 1.4% at 442 cents or $4.42. Just to finish off, let's quickly look at the bond market. The 10-year yield is actually up about 3.5 basis points at 4.25. So there you go. Yeah. Keep an eye on these these people. They're very dangerous, and we can't allow them to be in charge of policy. As I said, I don't care if there's a firm like BlackRock and they do what they do, but they should not be in bed with the central bank or governments. And The other thing they're looking to do, of course, is bring in a CBDC. And it's no surprise that BlackRock is getting involved with Bitcoin and ETFs. Yeah, wake up, people. This is just like a Trojan horse, cryptocurrencies. They want you in the digital world, tracked and followed, not just by government, but people like BlackRock and others. So with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good start to the week. Take care. Bye.